Hello there. You may remember me from a previous installment on insomnia. I've got a new report for you. You see, while many of us will enjoy our Christmas holidays, our many foods that we enjoy, some people have a biological problem that has to do with what they eat. It's called celiac disease. And it has nothing to do with those sailboats. But I decided to mention them anyway. Now let's not jump in too early. Before we start talking about this disease, let's get a history of it. Brief history. As far back as 250 AD, Aretaeus of Cappadocia included detailed descriptions of an unnamed disease in his writing. When describing his patients, he referred to them as koilakos, which meant suffering in the bowels. Now, this unnamed disease eventually became what we call celiac disease, which was named by the Sydenham Society of England in 1856. In 1888, Dr. Samuel G. of the United Kingdom started taking detailed accounts of children and adults with celiac disease. He stated that to regulate the food is the main part of treatment. The allowance of these foods that bother them must be small, but if the patient can be cured at all, it is by means of diet. In this statement, he is credited with being the first to link diet to celiac treatment. September 13th is designated Celiac Disease Awareness Day in honor of him because that was his birthday. And the CSA uses this day to spread celiac awareness. Now, celiac is sometimes known as silent and deadly. It's an autoimmune digestive disorder affecting nearly 3 million people in America. The disorder is triggered in genetically susceptible people of all ages by the consumption of gluten protein found in wheat, barley, and rye. The results are the destruction of villi in the small intestine, which can cause the malabsorption of nutrients and damage to the intestinal walls. Scientists basically argued on and on about what could be the cause of this disease before it was discovered that it was based on diet. For whatever reason, the people afflicted had trouble processing gluten, which is found in wheat. Referred to as the most underdiagnosed disease in the United States, only 3% of the afflicted people are actually diagnosed. Since the symptoms of the disease are similar to other diseases, like upset stomach, other digestive problems, fatigue, lack of growth, it's difficult to identify. However, with doctors being aware of these symptoms and blood tests that can tell if you have celiac, diagnosis has increased in the past few years. That's just a little base history for you. Now you may be wondering, what are some of the symptoms or presenting issues of celiac disease? How can I tell if I or my loved one has it over this holiday season? Well, there are lots of symptoms, and they can be also related to other diseases, but they are as follows: abdominal cramping, bloating, abdominal distension, acidosis, appetite increased to the point of craving, back pain, constipation, decreased ability to clot blood, dehydration, diarrhea, edema, electrolyte depletion, energy loss, fatigue, feet. Their feet are, the padding is thinner and they have foot sores, passing gas frequently, mouth sores or cracks in the corners of their mouth, muscle and leg cramping, night blindness, dry skin, irregular stool, their tongue looks different, tooth enamel defects, weakness, and weight loss. Now, more prevalent in young children, the obvious symptom is a lack of being able to gain weight, or if they're not very tall, because when they're not able to get these nutrients, they're not able to grow. Now, emotionally, other symptoms include depression, disinterest in normal activities, irritability, mood changes, and a lack of ability to concentrate. I don't even know what this thing is. It's like it's got a pincher thing on it, but then there's like seashells or something. What do you do with this? I don't know. So, now that we know a little bit about celiac disease, you want to get a base medical definition, don't you? Well, I have one for you. The medical definition of celiac disease is a disorder resulting from an immune reaction to gluten, a protein found in wheat and related grains, and present in many foods. Celiac causes impaired absorption and digestion of nutrients through the small intestine. Symptoms include frequent diarrhea and weight loss. A skin condition called dermatitis herpetiformis can be associated with celiac disease. The most accurate test for celiac disease is a biopsy of the involved small bowel. Treatment is to avoid gluten in the diet. Medicators are used for refractory, which means stubborn, celiac disease. So, in more extreme cases, medication needs to be used. There's Kyle Korver. Doesn't play for the Jazz anymore. Plays for the Bulls now, but, you know, as a Pelican, you can still take pride in the fact that, you know, he was able to come out of a small town and really make something good out of himself. But, sorry, I'm getting off track again. Now, how is celiac disease diagnosed? When working with a physician to diagnose and or confirm celiac disease, quote, CD, 3 major steps are taken. First, a thorough physical examination is conducted, including blood tests, sometimes referred to as the celiac blood panel. Second, a duodenal biopsy is performed, in which multiple samples from multiple locations in the small intestine are taken. And third, the gluten-free diet is implemented. When a patient shows a positive response to the diet, the symptoms subside, and the small intestine returns to its normal and healthy state. That's when the diagnosis of CD is confirmed. They sure write a lot of good stuff in this Palladium. But I'm getting off track again, sorry, it's just... yeah. Now, what are the biological challenges that come with this disease? Depending on the severity of the case, the symptoms that I've already mentioned will be more or less severe. For example, some people with celiac can, they'll accidentally eat something with gluten in it, and then they'll be sick for a day or so, and then they'll be fine. Now, in more extreme cases, they may have to be rushed to the hospital, and in the most extreme case, death could occur because it's just that upsetting to their bowels. But other than that, the only other biological challenges are the symptoms that I've already mentioned. Boy, paper's fun. But you know what else is fun? Psychology. So what psychological challenges are present in someone with CD? Well, since it's not really a psychological disorder, it's more difficult to really analyze and identify those. But it may make the person who has it feel different or excluded from the group if they're not able to eat everything that their peers or friends are able to. Now, this would be more common in children, where fitting in is a bigger deal, but to adults it wouldn't be a huge deal. And there's also a greater number of people who are being diagnosed now, so they're not as alone. But otherwise, there isn't really psychological issues with this disease. They grow up so fast, don't they? So, socially and culturally, What does celiac disease hold there? Well, there are support groups for people who have celiac. For example, my grandmother actually has celiac, and she is with a group in Des Moines that's actually a couple hundred people that meet, I think, monthly, and they all bring food that's gluten-free, and some of their family members come even if they're not celiac, and they all talk, and they have support for people with the disease, and they have speakers that come, and it's a good way for them to not feel alone, and to kind of be in one place where they don't have to worry about what's in their food. They know that it's all safe for them. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our in-depth look at celiac disease today, and maybe you learned a few things too. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our in-depth look at celiac disease today, and maybe you learned a few things too.